What if the voice in your head isn't actually trying to help you? Think about that. Because most people spend their entire lives assuming that every thought they have means something. Every worry. Every fear. Every late-night prediction. Every embarrassing memory that suddenly shows up when they're trying to sleep. They treat thoughts like messages. Warnings. Instructions. Things that deserve attention. But what if they're not? What if your mind is less like a wise advisor? And more like a smoke alarm that's a little too sensitive? A smoke alarm doesn't know the difference between a house fire and burnt toast. It just makes noise. And your mind works in a surprisingly similar way. That's why you can spend an entire day feeling completely fine. Then lie in bed at night and suddenly feel like your entire life is falling apart. Nothing changed. Your job didn't disappear. Your future didn't collapse. The world didn't end. The only thing that changed was the silence. And the moment the distractions disappeared, you were finally left alone with your own mind. That's when it starts. The conversation from 4 years ago. The text you wish you'd never sent. The opportunity you missed. The future disaster that hasn't happened. One thought becomes another. Then another. Then another. Until you're no longer thinking. You're being dragged. And here's the strange part. The harder you try to stop it, the worse it gets. Why? Because your mind was never designed to make you happy. It was designed to keep you alive. And those are not the same thing. For most of human history, survival depended on noticing problems before they happened. The person who imagined danger lived longer than the person who ignored it. So your brain became a prediction machine. A machine constantly asking, what could go wrong next? The problem is, your brain still runs the same ancient software. Except now there are no predators hiding behind trees. There are deadlines. Relationships. Social media. Career decisions. And an endless supply of uncertainty. So your brain treats everyday life like a survival challenge. A weird email from your boss? Potential threat. A friend taking longer to reply? Potential threat. A mistake you made years ago? Potential threat. Your mind keeps scanning. Keeps calculating. Keeps preparing. Not because it's broken. Because it's doing exactly what it evolved to do. But something else is happening too. And this is where things get interesting. Imagine you're sitting beside a road. Cars keep passing. Hundreds of them. Now imagine running after every single car. Sounds ridiculous, right? Yet that's exactly how many people live inside their own heads. A thought appears. You chase it. A worry appears. You analyze it. A memory appears. You replay it. An insecurity appears. You argue with it. Most people aren't exhausted because they have too many thoughts. They're exhausted because they're trying to manage every thought they have. As if every mental notification requires an immediate response. But here's a question. Have you ever noticed that some of your worst fears never happen? And yet they still steal hours of your life? Think about how much time you've spent preparing for conversations that never occurred. Arguments that never happened. Disasters that never arrived. The mind has a remarkable ability to create suffering from possibilities alone. A movie playing inside your head can trigger the same stress response as something happening in real life. Your heart races. Your muscles tense. Your stomach knots. All because of something that exists only in imagination. And that's when most people make a critical mistake. They try to force the thoughts away. They tell themselves, stop thinking. Calm down. Don't worry about it. But have you ever tried forcing yourself not to think about something? Try this. For the next 10 seconds, don't think about a pink elephant. Seriously. Don't do it. What happened? The elephant showed up anyway. Because the brain doesn't work that way. To make sure you're not thinking about something, it has to keep checking for it. Which means it keeps bringing it back. The harder you push thoughts away, the more attention you accidentally give them. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the stronger it fights to come back up. But what if overthinking isn't really about thoughts at all? What if thoughts are just the surface? Because beneath endless thinking, there's often something deeper. A feeling. Fear. Loneliness. Regret. Uncertainty. And feelings are uncomfortable. Thoughts feel safer. You can analyze a thought. You can debate a thought. You can try to solve a thought. But you can't solve uncertainty. You can't calculate your way out of every fear. You can't think your way into complete control. So the mind creates an illusion. It convinces you that if you just think a little longer, you'll finally find the answer. The perfect explanation. The perfect plan. The perfect certainty. But certainty never comes. And the thinking continues. That's why some people spend years trapped inside the same mental loops. Not because they haven't thought enough. Because they're trying to use thinking to solve something thinking cannot solve. And maybe that's the real reason your mind never shuts off. Maybe it isn't searching for answers. Maybe it's searching for safety. And maybe those aren't the same thing. Because safety promises certainty. Life doesn't. Life is uncertain. Relationships are uncertain. The future is uncertain. You can spend your entire life fighting that reality. Or you can learn something most people never do. You do not have to believe every thought you think. Read that again. You do not have to believe every thought you think. A thought is not a fact. A fear is not a prophecy. A memory is not a life sentence. And a worry is not a prediction of the future. They're just mental events. Nothing more. Nothing less. The moment you realize that, something changes. The thoughts may still appear. The noise may still exist. But it loses its power. Because now you're no longer trapped inside the storm. You're watching it pass through. And that's a completely different experience. Your mind may never become perfectly quiet. In fact, it probably won't. That's what minds do. They generate thoughts. Just as hearts pump blood and lungs breathe air. The goal was never to eliminate the noise. The goal was to stop mistaking the noise for truth. And maybe that's freedom. Not silence. Not control. Not the absence of thoughts. But the ability to hear them without becoming them. Because the day you stop believing every thought that enters your mind might be the day your mind finally stops controlling your life.